Thanks, Bailey. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Imani Page, and I'm a sophomore at Reservoir High School. It's my honor to be introducing James E. Page, Jr. James Page currently serves as the Chief Diversity Officer and Vice President of Johns Hopkins Medical, as well as the Vice Provost and Chief Diversity Officer of Johns Hopkins University. Meaning, one, no one knows what he does, and two, he is the leader of diversity in both schools. James served on the Corporal Advisor Committee for the Congressional Black Caucus in Washington, D.C. He has been named by Beaker's Hospital Review as one of the nation's top 15 diversity leaders. While working at Dell, he directed a program which was awarded the top innovator in global diversity. He led Lancaster General in receiving national recognition for its unique diversity implications. He holds a master's degree in business administration from the University of Texas, as well as a Bachelor of Science degree in computer technology from Purdue University. Needless to say, James Page, my father, is one cool cat. Everyone, please welcome my amazing dad, James Page.
Couldn't think of a better introduction. Can you hear me? Okay. So about a year ago, I did a TED Talk, and it was dedicated to my son, James. So in an attempt to be an equitable dad, this talk, it's a documentary, it's a love story, it's an action adventure, it's a comedy, and some would even say it's a fairy tale, dedicated to my daughter, Imani, who just introduced me. Don't worry, Nia, my oldest daughter, you'll be next. Now, as I started off my career with an incredible company, a high-tech company, and I started off in this high-flying, high-tech organization, and what's even more amazing is that I started off as a leader of people. And while I was good, one of my mentors noticed that there were still some subtleties that I just did not get. He gave me these 7 principles for success. His name was Thurman Whitaker. What Thurman gave me were these 7 principles for professional and personal success. And I have carried these principles around with me for about 2 decades now in my walk. And what's interesting is that my colleagues will see me pull out this old tattered sheet of paper and begin to reference them in the middle of a meeting. I have started using these principles now, though, more for a different job, a job that I've taken on, a job with limited training, a job with no certification and limited guidelines. And that's the job of a parent. Now, how many of parents in the audience can relate to that? Now, yeah, exactly. These principles have served me in an incredible way. And they have become kind of my personal North Star to ensure that I'm staying true to what I believe in. And these principles, which are created for business, but adapted for parenting, they're not necessarily things that you have not heard before. They're not mind-shattering ideas, nor are they items that are going to end up on the New York Times bestsellers list. But what they are a unique mix of insights and wisdom and inspiration that have served me in an incredible way and undoubtedly impacted me both personally and professionally. So, in the spirit of passing it forward, I am privileged to present these powerful principles for personal and professional progress. Principle 1, look out for curveballs. Have you all ever planned and practiced and done your homework and really tried to prepare for a situation and then life happens? Now, to all the teenagers in the room, I want you to know that your parents have prepared. But it just seems that y'all just keep throwing curveballs. Now what's interesting is that my wife and I were having a career conversation with Imani several years ago. And we talked about doctors, and we talked about firemen, and we talked about policemen, and we talked about all kinds of different careers. And then we got to lawyers. And Imani was intrigued. She interjected. She said, "Hey, Mom, Dad, my friend Abby really wants to be a prostitute when she grows up." Wow. You talk about a real curveball. Now she continued. She continued and said, "You see, a prostitutor makes some people happy. A prostitutor makes some people sad. A prostituter can make a lot of money. But most importantly, a prostituter gets to yell at a lot of people." Now, I don't know exactly what I grappled and said as my wife and I tried to figure out the perfect response to this situation, but I think it went something like this. "Sweetie, being a lawyer is a great career goal. You can be a defense attorney, you can be a real estate attorney, you can be a corporate attorney, you can be a lot of different kinds of attorneys. You can even be a prosecutor. But baby, you are not allowed to be a prostitute." You know, just when you think you have it all figured out, life throws you a curveball. And at those moments, you can't say, just give me a little bit of time to study the situation. When that curveball comes, you just got to grab a bat and take a swing. Principle 2, exceed expectations. I have a tradition with my daughters, and they involve daddy-daughter dates and dinners and dances. And we've been doing this since before they could walk. Now these are big deals. We're talking about dresses and tuxedos and hair and makeup and nails and all reservations. We're even talking Broadway plays and tiaras. Now, in 2007, my family and I were in the middle of a move between Lancaster, Pennsylvania and Austin, Texas. I was in Lancaster with Lancaster General starting a new role, and my family was still in Austin, Texas. But the dinner dates didn't stop. We had one on the books, and it was at True Lux Seafood House in the Arboretum in Austin, Texas. My plane reservations were made, the dresses were chosen, the tiaras were polished, and everything was ready to go. But then a snowstorm cut off air transportation between Austin, Texas and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So, what's a dad to do? Now, according to my very accurate photographic memory, we're talking about somewhere between like 6.5 inches of snow and like 20 feet of snow. I mean, I want to be very precise when I talk about these things. Some would say the easy response would be just to postpone and cancel. But have you ever tried to explain FAA transportation and flight theory and aerodynamics and snowstorms to a little girl? Yeah, that just wouldn't do. So I hopped in my two-door blue Chevy S10 1990 pickup truck, and I drove 24 hours and 54 minutes straight to see the biggest smile any dad ever asked for. What we need to remember is that trust and reputations take years to develop, and they can be destroyed in a moment. We have to remember that there are no excuses for not giving your all. Not weather, not time, not schedules, not work, nothing. You must give your all every moment. And that's what my parents used to tell me. Don't just exceed others' expectations. Exceed your own. Principle 3. Remain relevant. So the year is 2013. And my daughters at a school and their the Salvadorian exchange students are going to be returning home after a 2-week stay in the United States. And they're going to be hosting a huge going-away party. So my daughter decided to go and explain, brag to everyone in her school about the amazing cooking skills that her dad has and how much I love to barbecue. So she comes home and tells my wife and I how much all of her 200 plus friends and the exchange students, family members, guests, everyone are looking forward to coming to our house for a cookout. So, interstate right, Pigzilla, a 200-pound hog that I purchased from Warsaw, from Harmon Brothers Meats in Warsaw, Kentucky. I loaded the oinker up in the back of my old pickup truck and drove her back home to Cincinnati. Now, between you and I had no clue what I was doing. I had never roasted a pig in my life. However, this became the first of many over-the-top cooking adventures that we had in our house. And these cooking adventures mattered to schools, and they mattered to clubs, they mattered to little boys and girls, and they were important. They were important to my children. You see, they weren't just cookouts. These became part of their identity, a way for them to welcome their friends inside of our house, a way for them to welcome diversity inside of our home. You see, it is not just enough to be present or in the moment. You must make sure that you are relevant. Now, if that takes learning a new skill or doing something you're afraid of, learn the skill. Take the risk. But make sure that you are relevant. Principle 4, believe in yourself. So the date is August 21st, 2000. And my wife and I are in the Renaissance Women's Hospital in Bee Cave, Texas. We were in the radiology department. And we would never see the first pictures of our daughter, the first pictures of your mother. Now, up until that moment, I truly believed that ultrasounds were just a way to figure out if it was going to be a girl or a boy and nothing really more. It wasn't until exactly 3:39 p.m. The technician stopped the ultrasound. She looked at my wife. She set down the scanner. Told us one moment while she goes and gets the doctor. Now, looking in her eyes, looking at the technician's face, I could tell something was wrong. And the 5 minutes it took for her to go and retrieve the doctor and come back, it felt like 5 years. The technician and doctor returned, and they told us there was a problem. They told us our baby was missing her hand, that she was missing her left hand, and there was nothing that they could do about it. They called it sim-breaking down. It's this spontaneous condition where the blood cells in your hands just don't fully develop and the hand just doesn't fully form. My wife and I spent the rest of that day, we talked to grief counselors and we talked to other doctors and we talked to social workers and we talked to nurses and then we finally returned back to our doctor's office. And we sat down. And the doctor gave us the option of terminating the pregnancy. Were we prepared to parent this child? Did we have the skills? Did we have the faith? And the things that run through my mind as a dad, such as how in the world is she ever going to play Ring Around the Rosie with the other little boys and girls with only one hand? Imani was born 5 months later. Perfect in every single way. 10 fingers and 10 toes? Nope. Absolutely and undoubtedly perfect in every single way. And if any of you see her in the hallways or the classrooms, remind her that her mom and dad knew what they were doing the entire time. And that we would not change a thing. Life will take unexpected turns in a moment. And these will change your joy into sorrow. They will change your confidence into doubt. They will turn your happiness into fear. They will turn your progress into setbacks. Your belief in yourself is essential. You will mess up. You will fail. But when that happens, just pick yourself up and say, I'm meant to do that. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. Principle 5. Be big and be bold. So about 5 years later, we get a call from the principal of Imani School. And they said, the principal said that they want to have a conference with my wife and I. And we were really confused because up until that moment, we had only had glowing reports about Imani's behavior, her effort, and her academic progress in school. So we were trying to figure out what was going on. We even had a conversation with Imani about this, and when we asked her what was happening. And Imani, I was very proud of you when you talked to my wife, your mom and I, about what was going on. Because she did not give any alternative facts. Imani told us there was one little boy in her class, in her school. And this one little boy would ask her every day, what happened to your hand? And Imani and I her mom and I gave her some strategies for this at the beginning of the year. We said, Imani, if someone asks you what happened to your hand, just tell them that this is how you were born. Or if that doesn't work, sweetie, tell them that God made you this way. Or if nothing else, just turn around and walk away. But this boy was one little persistent booger. So on that day, Imani had enough. And she turned around and looked at the boy and said to him, when I was swimming, an alligator bit my hand off. And she continued. She said, and you know what? I think the same thing will happen to you next time you get close to the water. and while the boy was a bit devastated, Imani was quite happy with her bold and unique and quite effective solution to this problem. You know, Albert Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Imani learned this lesson at a pretty young age. Sometimes, if you don't get what you expect, even after trying over and over again, at that time you may need to just take a deep breath and be big, be bold. Take a risk and go for it. Principle 6, build bridges. Dr. Maya Angelou said that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Knowing who you can depend on, those individuals that you can call a close friend or a confidant, is critical. And right before I came onto this stage, I did a mental inventory of my close friends and those that I truly trust. And I have about 718 folks, including, according to Facebook. In strong relationships, you learn about yourself. You learn about your capacity for love. You learn about your ability to handle truth. You learn about your willingness to self-sacrifice, and you learn about your desire for self-improvement. As I have watched Imani blossom from a shy little girl to a stunning, beautiful woman, I have learned question the motives of every boy in this building. I can say without question, that being a father, that having children, that having daughters, that has made me a better human, a better father, a better friend, a better colleague, a better business executive. Principle 6, find your happily ever after. And Mr. Walker said to Charlie, Charlie, don't forget what happened to the man who suddenly got everything that he ever wanted. He lived happily ever after. Happily ever afters are not limited to the end of Grimm's fairy tales. Each and every one of us has the ability to find and craft and create our very own happily ever after. My happily ever after, mine involves my family. It involves my wife, Janessa. It involves my parents, Pamela and James. It involves my brothers and sisters. It involves my aunts and uncles and close friends and cousins. My happily ever after involves my children. But we need to remember that parenting is hard work. Yet, parenting is a privilege. Being a father is an honor. It is a gift. And enjoying the ride and having fun is just what we do. My fairy tale, it's going something like this. Once upon a time, in the enchanted village of Indianapolis, Indiana, a goofy yet devastatingly handsome young man met a radiantly beautiful princess. It was love at first sight. Yo, at least on his part, because your girlie was fly, you know what I mean? They graduated high school and attended separate colleges. Yet, they stayed together. After completing college, they were married in a beautiful fairy tale wedding. A wedding that involved talking mice and unicorns and pumpkin chariots and glass slippers and pixie dust and godmothers and godfathers of soul named James Brown and unicorns and butterfly kisses. They rented a horse and carriage and headed for the mysterious island of Austin, Texas, to start their kingdom. And along the way, they were blessed with 2 beautiful princesses and a very handsome prince. And while there were wicked witches and monsters and trolls and dragons and poison apples, as well as interesting careers, and Princess Balls, and Pigzilla, and enchanted monitors, as well as child-eating reptiles, and untrustworthy little men with questionable motives. Together they planned for curveballs and exceeded expectations. They remained relevant, and they believed in themselves. They were big, and they were bold, and they built bridges. They learned that there really is no big secret to life, but there were principles and a North Star which helped them stay true to their path. They found 7 Darwin-Woodard principles that helped them guide them along their way. And along their way, these tips led to self-confidence and pride, as well as personal and professional success. And while they did not get everything that they wanted, they absolutely got everything that they needed and more. And most importantly, they live happily ever after. The
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Page, for that amazing talk. Hello, my name is Clara Schultz. When I was 2, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, which makes it really hard for me to learn things that come easily to most people. I went to school with my peers and received special education services. While I was in high school, I was involved in lots of clubs. One of my favorites was Best Buddies. The leader of Best Buddies was a person full of energy, ideas, and love. She was a good dancer too. It is my honor to introduce my friend Lindsay Allen. Welcome, Lindsay.
My household contains an unofficial proclamation, not a family heirloom of words passed down from previous generations, not a plaque on the wall from the local farmer's market stating words to live by, but a 3-worded, 4-syllable phrase made up by my older brother Richard. I, not carded. A set of words I wish he nor anyone had to proclaim. But he, along with many others, would speak up and defend themselves. That's right. Imagine if you had to defend your being, your differences, your identity. My older brother Richard has Down syndrome, and he often proclaims this 3-worded, 4-syllable phrase at the dinner table: I, not carded. In the car: I, not carded. And any time he presents an